أنت لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. Welcome our dear viewers to another episode of Deen Love. It's been a while, so we're trying to close that gap in, and so we pray that you're all safe with Allah Azza wa Jall's protection and His blessings. Okay, so today we have awesome, amazing, exciting episode. Wonderful guest, wonderful brother that we just met, and there's a lot for us to learn, I think, in this discussion. So everybody pay close attention. Get your halwa, get your buskut, get your hummus, whatever it is that you have to eat, because we are going to initiate one of the greatest podcasts ever done on this platform, inshallah ta'ala. And so I'd like to introduce the viewers to our brother, Sidīq. Sidīq, how are you doing today, brother?
Good, alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah. And so I would have you all know that our brother Sidīq is a revert, not only a revert, but maybe you guys haven't met a lot of people that come from this community, but he's also Native American from the Ojibwe tribe. Is that say it correctly?
Ojibwe.
Ojibwe, okay. And so Ojibwe is one of the biggest tribes, if not the biggest one in Minnesota.
It's definitely the biggest tribe in Minnesota. And I'll say it's in top 5 big tribes in the whole U.S.
Okay.
And specifically, I'm from the Leech Lake Reservation. That's where I'm enrolled at.
Leech Lake?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I was raised in Minneapolis.
Okay, mashallah. Land of 10,000 lakes, huh? And none of them are fake. Welcome, our dear viewers. And so today we're going to talk about the story of our brother. What was his reversion like? What was, what's his story? How did he become Muslim? And, I mean, we just had some conversations between us, and it was like, whoa. And then just a lot of connections, ta'liqat that we made. It was, so we got to talk about it. So first of all, talk to us about your story. How did you become Muslim?
Alhamdulillah. So I became Muslim at age 17. And I was incarcerated in St. Cloud prison here in Minnesota. I was in segregation to top it off. So I'm at a low on top of a low. And my neighbor was also in SEG. We're both in SEG. And he seemed really smart. We're always talking. And he's also Native American and white, similar to myself.
Okay.
So one day I was like, man, how'd you get so smart? You know what I mean? And he held out a copy of the Quran, and I've never seen a Quran in my life, so I didn't even know what that was, right? Yeah. And I remember telling him, like, what is that? Or I was asking, what is that? And he was like, what? You don't know what this is? And he thought I was being funny at first or sarcastic, but I was serious. And he realized that, so he took his time to explain to me, like, the whole revelation, how it came about to come down, right? And I was like, but why should I believe in that? Like, right. What should make me believe in this? And he's like, well, what do you believe in? So, I'm like 17 and I'm incarcerated. And
so before we carry on, talk about, explain to people what segregation means, because I know, we're using prison terms. People who've been inside and they may understand, but most people think segregation like, the
Jim Crow era,
civil rights and all this, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So explain to people what should be by segregation.
So segregation is in prison. If you're getting in trouble, they'll place you in segregation to isolate you, to punish you. And I was in segregation. My neighbor was in segregation, and that's where me and him met, and that's how that was like the very beginning of me embracing Islam.
MashaAllah.
So he asked me, what do you believe in? As like a way to figure out, like, how should I talk to this young man?
Right.
So, you know, I was like, oh, well, you know, I believe in our culture and this and that. He's like, no. He's like, I know what you youngsters be saying because you think that's what guys my age want to hear.
Is he also Native American?
Yeah,
From the
Native.
same tribe.
I believe his mother, so his mom's Native, but one of his, his mother's parents, one of them I believe is Winnebago, and the other one is Ojibwe. So
Okay.
she has two different tribes.
Okay. Okay.
So she's from two different tribes, but she's Native.
Okay.
Her son is Native,
Okay.
and he's Ojibwe and Winnebago.
Okay. Interesting. Carry on.
So, he wanted to know what I believed in versus what I thought he wanted to hear, right?
Right.
So I was like, oh, well, you know, I've always had some type of, like, reverence for the Bible, right? Or some type of, like, belief in the Bible.
Yeah.
Because of my great-grandpa is Selim Ross. So when he was, like, 7 or 8, he was taken from home. He was put into a boarding school. And every time he would try to speak Ojibwe, they would beat him, make him speak English only. And, yeah, so when he left as a young man. And he had, like, the white guy haircut or whatever, probably similar to what I got today.
Right.
Like, so, like, today I'm embracing the hairstyle, but, like, so back in the day.
He would have long hair.
He would have originally.
But they cut it
yes.
to kind of make him assimilate in the European culture.
Kill the Indian, save the child.
Wow. SubhanAllah. Kill an Indian.
Save the child.
Save the child.
So they were, like, trying to, like whitewash us. You know what I mean? So the U.S. government today, they have these bills to protect us, right? So there's this one that's called ICWA. It's Indian Child Welfare Act.
Okay.
So what this means, if there's a child that's Native American that's in need of protection because his or her home is unfit, then they have to notify that tribe, and that child goes back to the tribe. So that way we don't have to worry about that happening anymore, because that was the issue. But and they know it was the issue, so they passed a bill to protect us from going through that.
But then after all the damage and everything's been done, it kind of
it's generational trauma.
Yeah,
you know
what I'm saying? So it's kind of like,
and it's compounded.
It's like you burn the house down to the ground. And you're like, hey guys, no one else burn this house, okay? No one else is allowed to burn this house.
Yeah,
you already destroyed.
You burnt my house, dude.
Okay,
so,
go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, that's a nice way to put it, though.
Yes.
But yeah, so growing up as a kid, going to powwows, but then on Sunday, like going to church with my grandmother on my dad's side, which is the daughter of a minister, right?
Wow.
But she also goes to powwows, right? So like, there's this like Christianity thing going on. And
so then it's like
today,
we do both. We preserve both.
Yeah, so like today you have natives that choose to be Christian, right? When it was first introduced, it wasn't really like a choice. It was oppression.
Right.
And but today's a choice, right? So you got a lot of natives that identify as Christian or Catholic.
Okay, makes sense.
And it's something different. So he wanted to know, what do I believe? And I told him, well, I had this belief, this love, this reverence, and I explained why. So he was like, okay. And then I remember either he asked me or I volunteered, but I was like, you know what, it doesn't really make sense to me.
Right.
So I was like, when I was in county jail, I tried, to like read the Bible, and I was getting into it, and I was fasting, but it wasn't really like clicking. And he was like, do you know why? And I was like, no. He was like, well, you need someone to explain it to you because it's been messed with, right?
Corrupted.
So I don't want to use his words. The way he worded it is that it was altered.
Okay.
That the Bible was altered. And he was explaining how, like, the first, like, 60 years or something, it wasn't even written on paper.
Yeah.
And then after that, it was, like, the great-grandchildren were, relaying stories that they were hearing, right? So, you know that game where you guys have a line, you say one thing.
Chinese whispers.
Yes. And by the time you get over here, something totally different.
Yep.
So, he's explaining that to me, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not really liking that in the moment because it's like
it's challenging.
It's challenging,
Yeah.
you know, a belief system, right? Something that I was raised on, and I'm like, oh wait, what?
Yeah.
Like this is contradictory to everything that, you know. Imagine someone told you that the world is you know flat. They're trying to convince you.
Yeah.
There's just so much.
And if they are given evidences that make sense, it
Yeah.
kind of it makes you very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like, it's like what?
So imagine if you thought the world was flat, right?
Yeah.
Someone's like, hey, bro, you know it's not flat,
Yeah,
right?
because we're gonna have some people in the comments say, "Hey, well, you guys believe the world's flat?" No,
We
didn't say that.
Yeah,
Okay,
we
go
don't
ahead,
say
bro.
that. So look, but imagine though someone did think it was flat,
Right.
and then that belief that was challenged, like, hey, you know it's really round, and that
Yeah.
guy's like, what? What do you mean?
Yes.
So it's something like that.
Yeah.
You know, we talking to me about the Bible, like, oh man, but it makes you think because like he's not like giving me a made up book. You know what I mean? Like this is a book, the Bible. Anyone can go pick it up.
It's accessible.
Anyone can go look at the book of John, chapter 14, verse 16 and 17.
That's right.
Where Jesus says, if you believe in me and follow my commandments, I'll pray to the Father that he sends you another helper, right? So that's the very first thing that this brother showed me, Nasser.
Right.
So that's not the name that he was given at birth, but he's a revert.
Nasser is his Muslim name
Yes.
that he chose for himself.
Yeah.
And then he has a different name.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but Nasser was explaining this stuff to me, right? And I was like, so what does this verse mean, right? Like, what's the big deal, dude?
Yeah.
He's like, well, you need to touch on three things. I'm like, what's up? He was like, that title, father and son. And, you know, one thing that he would do is, like, he would ask you questions, right? Just to see what do you know. So, like, what do you know about this title? Stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
So, long story short, this title, it wasn't exclusive to just Jesus. This was for anyone that believed in God, right? That was a righteous servant. And so the title between the servant and God, or Allah, right, is father and son. At that time, that was common. It was something that they did. We don't do that. But they did it, though. And it wasn't exclusive. And, you know, there's parts in the book of Matthew in the New Testament where Jesus said that the peacemakers of earth shall be referred to as the children of God.
Yeah.
That wasn't literal.
It's not literal.
You know.
Yeah.
So anyways, he's pointing that part out to me. And then he's explaining about the text where the English translation comes from, and about, you know, Greek and this word parakalite or parakalita, and how there's different meanings to it. So one of them, when you translate it in the English, is something along the lines of like one who is praiseworthy or exceedingly praised.
Yeah.
So
Paraklatos.
when you translate that word into Arabic, right, you're going to get a word like Ahmed or Muhammad.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
One who's praiseworthy.
The praiseworthy, yeah.
So this is coming from this brother Nasr. He showed me where Jesus is saying this, right?
Yeah.
A messenger of Allah. So I'm like, what? And it just it felt, I don't know.
It's just messing with you.
Yeah. So I was just like, what? I'm like, how could I have read this book all these times and I missed that? So it's just it was a lot to take that in.
Yeah,
and then he hits me with, hold on, those are two things. The third one was the perpetuity of the Quran and Sunnah, right? How this is going to be here with us until the day of judgment.
Right.
And this is the last guidance.
Right.
Even when Isa, Jesus, alayhi salam, comes back, he'll be judging by Quran and Sunnah.
Correct.
So, okay, this verse, that's the book of John, chapter 14, verse 16, 17. Jesus says, if you believe in me, follow my commandments, I'll pray to the Father that he sends you another helper and that he'll abide here with you forever. That part, abide here with you forever, scholars believe is referring to the perpetuity of the Quran and Sunnah, how this is the last legislation that has been given to us, and that's it. So, that's just like, that's just so concrete. When I look at that today, it's like, wow, like how could you miss that?
Yeah, I mean, if you just look at the Bible in general, it's a lot of it. It doesn't coincide with the Christian narrative, because you're going to see a lot of gaps and holes where you're like, wait a second, but this is supposed to be someone who's God.
Yeah.
Doesn't say he's God.
No.
Doesn't say worship me.
Never.
And he's always pointing to this Father, this higher deity. So for someone to say, Jesus is God, how do you explain that? Because does God point to another individual? That's weird. So this is a whole bunch of stuff. And so at this time, your probably emotions are kind of like, this is like, let's go. And you'll know maybe how to respond to it. So what ends up happening after that?
So, okay, I'm like 17. And at that time, I started to like, you know what, I think this is real. But like, I'm a kid, and it's like, why? Like, give me more. You know what I mean? Is there more? And alhamdulillah, man, the brother had his proofs, right? He had it prepared.
That brother was selling.
Yeah, so he came with the scientific evidences, right? And
this guy, I think this is the brother we met.
Yes.
This brother is a proper da'i, okay?
Yeah.
May Allah bless this brother.
Alhamdulillah.
And make it easy for him, and keep him steadfast on the truth. Because just even the method here, the way he's teaching you with questions, this is like this is top tier da'wah. Right?
Alhamdulillah.
Really.
So okay, now he's hitting me with the scientific evidences, right? And it's like, I'm sold, but I don't want to come like, hey, bro, I'm sold. You know what I mean? And it's like,
it's still a little bit of ego, maybe.
Yeah, and so we're in segregation, which the rooms, everyone's isolated by yourself, so you got to yell out your bars or out your trace lot to communicate.
Okay.
So I'm yelling out the bars to talk to my neighbor.
By the way, which state are you in at this point?
At this point, I'm in Minnesota.
Okay, you're still in Minnesota. Okay.
I'm in Minnesota. I'm 17 now.
Okay.
So I've been locked up for about a year, and it's like 2006.
Okay.
So I remember, like, I don't know, it's like waiting to like yell out, like, okay, I'm ready. You know what I mean? So, but alhamdulillah, that's where it started for me. And so
now I want us to go into the segment about let's go to you accepted, you embraced it. Now, what's your journey with being a Muslim within the prison system?
Okay, so Minnesota in prison, it's his own little like world, right? And being 17, not really having like a sense of direction in life, you're still a kid.
Yeah.
Don't really know who you are. You're trying to find yourself. Don't even have your own morals and values yet at this age. I mean, well, maybe some, but most kids don't, right?
Most don't, yeah.
So, like, let's just look at that. And now you're in this adult prison system with adults. And it's like, I feel like we're almost hardwired to look for that, like, connection, family support, and that's gone now.
Yeah.
So, here in Minnesota, being Native American meant something, right? Like, I was straight. I had no problems. Even though I was a juvenile, wasn't no one trying to like push up on me or mess with me.
Yeah.
Because they knew if they did that, I'm Native. All my Native brothers gonna have my back in there, right? And for my first 5 years in prison, that's kind of how it was. Even though I embraced Islam,
right?
So, because like all my examples of what Islam was in Minnesota in that prison system at that time, Islam wasn't really prevalent how it is today.
Okay.
And
that makes sense.
So I would look around, I'll be like, okay, this guy says he's a Muslim, so I guess it's okay to get tattoos. Oh, this guy says he's Muslim, I guess it's okay to drink, or I guess it's okay to smoke weed. And like, I had a lot of bad examples, and so I just try to be the best Muslim I could, I guess, along with still being like actively a part of like the Native community within prison, which in Minnesota that's a superpower, right? So, but alhamdulillah, like the journey started.
Okay, so now alhamdulillah, you're in Minnesota. Alhamdulillah, you're out. Okay, but you're in Minnesota state prison at this moment, and you are still within the Native community,
Yeah,
and you're interacting with them, but you're a Muslim.
but I'm Muslim.
Okay. Then, do you go anywhere else? So what happens after this?
So after that, just continue with like the gangbanging and like being with my people, and then getting sent to Stillwater. So I wound up becoming maximum custody,
Okay.
and Stillwater houses maximum custody inmates along with Oak Park Heights.
Okay, so what does that mean? Maximum custody.
Maximum custody is there has to be so many barriers in between you and the outside world.
Wow.
So when you're in medium, there's less barriers,
Yeah.
and there's more liberties, there's more freedom for you.
Right.
So when you're max, it's less. When you're, closed custody, which is in between medium and max, closed custody houses maximum guys.
So you're locked down.
You're not really locked down, but you're with, like, so you go to Stillwater or you go to Rush City or you go to Oak Park Heights, you're with, like, real hardened criminals.
Okay.
Guys that's been doing time for the last 10, 15 years
Okay,
straight.
makes sense.
So, yeah, Stillwater is a dangerous prison.
Okay.
Rush City is dangerous. Oak Park Heights is very dangerous. So when you go to these places, like the atmosphere, you can feel it. You know where you're at.
It's hostility.
Yeah, but then I started to encounter other Muslims on that, right? So I was like, and now I'm meeting some, like brothers like know more about the Deen,
Okay.
right? And I'm meeting better examples, right? Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
So I met this one brother. I think he's out now. He's a lifer, and I'm just gonna call the brother Abdul. No, because that's someone's name. Hold on.
Yeah.
I'm just calling his brother. So matter of fact, I'm not gonna say his name. Just to
say
you
Mo.
know,
Just say Mo.
Mo. So disrespect Mo's identity. I don't want to say Mo's name,
That's
but
fine. Don't worry. We'll cut that part out.
I remember meeting Mo, and he was like, "Man, why don't you come down to Juma?" And I was like, "Man, I don't, really know, and I don't want to cause any issues and this and that." And he like, "Won't be no issues. Come on down." Like he doesn't know me, you know what I mean? He just knows that I'm Muslim,
Okay,
and like he wants me to be a part of the community, and he's willing to, ride up with me if I have any issues over that, right? So I was like, yeah. So, and you know what's crazy? I just seen this brother like a couple months ago.
So earlier you said that he's a lifer.
He's a lifer. So, but
he got out eventually.
So with the new commissioner right now, they're trying to get their lifers out of prison. They're trying to help like get people reformed and released versus like incarcerate and like throw away the key.
SubhanAllah.
So the direction that the state is trying to take is a better direction.
So the brother originally he was set to be in there for life.
I think they say like life with parole, but back in the day, like if you had a life sentence, like
that was a life sentence.
It was hard for guys to get out, really hard. But now you're seeing lifers in mediums. You're seeing lifers getting released, and that's good. I don't see how just it is to incarcerate someone indefinitely.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. So the brother is out. Let's say he's out.
Yeah, inshallah. I hope he's out.
Okay.
So it's just like meeting these better examples in this rougher prison. Right. You just meet, I guess, better Muslims. Like they've been practicing for a while, and they've been locked up for a while. And it's like they know what's important to them, right? So through making bad choices and being affiliated, I wound up getting sent out of state in 2011 on October. I want to say 4th. No, January 4th of 2011. I got sent out of state.
Okay.
So they sent me out to the East Coast, and first time I've been on a plane. I'm like 22 years old. Never been to the East Coast, right? I don't know anybody out there.
Yeah.
So it was I was scared. Like I felt fear.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I didn't know what to expect.
It makes sense. Yeah.
So they sent me out to the East Coast, and I go to Maryland. Everybody talks different out there. The slang is different. And for example, like here in Minnesota, we say dog. There, they might say Doug. They'd be like, check this out, Doug. I said it right. And, like, the slang is different. But, you know, the community that I was able to be a part of out there was beautiful. And, like, the prison system is worse. It's a rougher prison system. Wow. It's dangerous.
So you said you're in Maryland.
In Maryland.
Okay.
And it's a really dangerous prison. It's as hard as playing. So it's like they don't house you well. They don't care about you. They don't feed you well. They don't clothe you well.
It's more neglect.
Yes. So here in Minnesota, in comparison to other prison systems, you know, they clothe you. The living conditions are decent.
SubhanAllah.
They're clean. Yeah. You know what I mean? You're gonna get clean clothes. You're gonna have food, like a decent portion of food.
Right.
So I remember, like, the difference in the way they feed us from Maryland to Minnesota is, like, when I came back to Minnesota, they had so much food on the tray. I was like, dang, is this like a holiday meal or something? Like, what's up? Like, it was a big portion.
Yeah.
But that's the difference, though, is that Minnesota has money, Maryland doesn't. So it's a poor prison system, and there's not a lot of programming, not a lot of education. You got a lot of guys doing nothing, and if there's nothing to do.
That's right. So now you're in this prison. You get in first time. You hit the ground. What's it like?
All right, so I hit the door in an intake. They give me a pillow. No, they give me a pillowcase, no pillow. They give me a wool blanket and they give me a wool blanket and one sheet, right?
That's it.
And they gave me like 3 pairs of like socks, boxers, t-shirts, 2 jeans, 1 pair of shoes, and they're out of jackets.
And so at this time, is this winter?
It's winter and they're out of jackets. It's January. They're out of jackets. And everything's outdoors where you gotta be walking outside. You're getting snowed on right now, whatever, right?
Yeah.
So I remember getting sent to like the last unit, right? This is at Roxbury Prison in Maryland. So I remember getting there and we're leaving. We're gonna go eat, and on the way there, a correctional officer seen me, and I'm guessing that he's about to tell me that I need to go get a jacket or something, or tell me how to get a jacket. You know, because I'm cold. Like, he's responsible for my safety, ultimately, you know. Yeah. So he calls me over. I'm listening. And he was like, you ain't got no jacket? I was like, no. Some things about telling me how to get a jacket.
Right.
He tells me the only way I'm going to get a jacket if I was to put a can in a sock, smack the first person I see in the head with a jacket, that's how I'm going to get a jacket.
SubhanAllah.
So I was like, oh, man, dude's on BS. So I just took off walking, right?
Yeah.
And he thought it was funny, you know, so I took off walking, and on the way back, this guy seen I didn't have a jacket, and he felt bad for me, right? So I'm thinking, all right, so look, on the way back, he was like, hey, do you have a jacket? I'm like, no. He's like, I'm going to send you one over.
Okay.
Where you sleep at? So I was like, oh, man, should I tell him where I sleep at? Like, this dude's bigger than me. You know, like, is he on BS right now?
It's tough because you don't know anybody there.
No.
It's hard to trust anybody.
So, but I'm freezing. I need a jacket. I was like, man, I sleep, you know, over on D tier, so whatever, right?
Gotta
so
take that risk.
Yeah, and alhamdulillah, Allah protected me. I didn't have any problems. So by the mercy of Allah, I got a jacket, right? And the next day I'm gonna go eat. So I'm walking to go eat, and the CO seen me with a jacket. So he calls me over. He's like, okay, I see you got a jacket. So you got a jacket now. You must listen to what I said or something, right? Yeah. So I took off walking like this dude's tripping. He's on BS, you know. But that's where I was, though. I was in a prison system that didn't really care about you.
Tough. Yeah, that's very difficult.
So at Roxbury, they have cameras on the outside all over. On the inside of them units, though, there was no cameras. They had one camera in a bubble they could point at one individual tier at a time, and there's 4 tiers, and that's only if they think something's gonna happen. They could pop up a camera and start videotaping and wait for it to happen.
Otherwise, there's no surveillance.
No, and there was other tiers. You know what I mean? There's 4 tiers in each unit. 96 guys each tier. You know what I mean? So like anything could happen.
Yeah.
And just being in that environment, it was stressful. Minnesota, like, you know, is violent. Like, they have stabbings, a lot of fights, but it's not on the level that was going on the East Coast in Maryland. And I wasn't used to that. I was like, oh, it was like 6 months of just like high stress for me. Eventually, I started to like level out, right? But so I went to the intake unit. After that, they sent me to the gang unit, right? I just came from a different state for gang banging.
Right.
And just left the intake unit, which was House Unit 4. I want to say it was like D wing or something.
Okay.
Or C wing. So I went down to House Unit 2, which is what they call like their gang unit or like their ghetto. So at one point in time, it was also nicknamed Baby Mecca because there's so many Muslims down there.
SubhanAllah.
And so I go to this unit, and man, like the COs have no control, and it was bad. It was really bad. So you guys come out. There's like 96 people. You come out your cell.
Yeah.
They put you in a room where one of your walls is like a big glass window, so a CO can see you from a distance away in like a control booth.
Yeah.
And they're not even in there with you, right? So if something happens in there, you're in trouble.
You're done. Yeah.
And there's only 4 phones and 4 showers, right? And like the different groups take them, right? So, you know, there's so many Muslims there though, right?
Yeah.
96 guys, 20 to 30 is gonna be Muslim. So to make sure that that Muslims weren't being oppressed, the brothers made sure that they would always have a phone, and a phone line for the Muslims, a shower for the Muslims, and a line so that way there was like some type of like order to it. You know what I mean? And it was good for the Muslims. Like we were fine, we were safe, and like just seeing the security in such a hostile environment, right? So you know how they say like true success is with the law, true security is with the law. In a place like that, you know, where you can find a group of Muslims and there's a brotherhood there and there's unity and all they want to do is worship Allah. Yeah. And they're gonna love you for the sake of Allah. They're not worried about your ethnicity or how much money you got. They're not trying to get over on you. It was just so different. But that existed in the middle of chaos, right? All over. And I never seen nothing like that in my life. And like I remember always seeing this group of people that were always together, like when it was time to eat or like go work out, go to the gym, the yard, shower, you know what I mean? Like you always seen the same group of people always together doing the same stuff, laughing, joking, smiling. And I just didn't understand, like, man, like how do they have that?
So I think also this is a good, it reminds me of the seerah. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and when he moved to Medina and he established a wilayah there with the Muslims and like a state, around him, surrounding him were hostile tribes, were hostile individuals, and there were people that allied themselves with different things, different people, and it was sort of that chaotic thing. But when any of like the non-Muslims would go into Medina and see the organization and see the close-knit community and see all of these things, they're wondering like, what is this? This is different. You know, I've seen a lot of things in these sort of environments, but this is different. Like I lived here all my life. I've never seen this before. Right. And so for someone who's used to like the prison system, you see how gangs operate. Yeah. You see how different communities and race ethnicities they operate. And, you know, with them, they have organization, but it's usually comes with a lot of hostility and violence. Yeah. And so talk about what was different from those other gangs and then the Muslims here.
Okay. So number one thing that I noticed that's different is that this group of people, they didn't look like they were miserable, right? Number one, let's just start with that. SubhanAllah. Their appearance, they look more pleasant and they're clean. Yeah. Versus like these other guys are like covered in tattoos, or they might look kind of rough and unpleasant, or they might be kind of dirty or something. Yeah. You know, they were like drinking some hooch all night, so like they stink, they smell. So like looking at like the appearance and how they mingled with people and how they were just, even though it's the biggest group, it is a superpower.
Yeah.
They don't oppress nobody. They're not extorting no one. Like it's just it's hard to explain. Like when you see that, and like there's no like hidden motives. You know, no one's making anyone do anything. Because like with gangbanging, you get told to do something. If you don't do it, they're gonna do that to you. But with the Muslims, like the Muslims ain't going on missions and oppressing nobody.
Right. SubhanAllah.
There's been incidences where like they might have got attacked and they're to protect each other.
Yeah.
But they're not saying like, hey, Aki, you need to go do X, Y, Z.
Yeah, they're not exploiting other people and taking advantage and of the power that they have, if they have any. So tell us about you're there, you see all this, you're starting to observe. How do you meet them? Like, what's your interaction?
So, okay, I'm used to Minnesota and, like, you know, people here, like, gang banging, people be grouped up, you know, and it's like, you don't talk to everybody. You kind of, like, stick with your own people.
Right.
You know, so, like, this whole time, I'm thinking I'm Muslim, right?
Yeah.
So, and I've met Muslims here in Minnesota.
Yeah.
And, you know, I talked to them, we hung out, whatever. But now I see this group, it's a big group.
Yeah.
And like they're together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I find out that they're all Muslims. And I was like, man, I'm Muslim. I was like, well, I think I'm a Muslim. You know, and
you're questioning yourself.
Yes. So I met this brother named
you give him another name. You give him
Abdullah, right? Alhamdulillah. There's like millions of Abdullahs, you know what I mean? So I met this brother named Abdullah, and we get to hanging out, man, and I'm asking him questions to see if it's a gang. So I'm trying to like just hint like, hey, this or that. And he was like, nah. And then he's like, then I see him like mingling with other Muslims. I'm like, hey, what is this? What is that? I start asking questions, and we wound up having a conversation. And I told him about my story and stuff, and he's like, oh, that's so cool. Do you want to take your shahada, right? So I was thinking I'm Muslim, you know what I mean? And Allah knows best.
Yeah, subhanAllah.
So we're laughing, we're joking, we're all hanging out. And I get moved down to the gang unit eventually, right?
Yeah.
Man, this was a stressful unit. And but again, alhamdulillah, though, you look at the Muslims, like they got their own little area.
Yeah.
They're, you know, over studying, they're not oppressing no one. Everyone looks like they're happy over there. I want a part of that. You know what I mean? Like I want to be happy, you know what I mean? So again, just like gravitating towards, you know, other Muslims and hanging out with them. And for over 7 years, I mean, like that was like a way of life from like the time you wake up to the time that you go to bed. You're with your Muslim brothers, and like you guys do everything together, from seeking out knowledge, praying, eating. Sometimes you might need someone to stand on guard for you while you're taking a shower. Sometimes you know you might be living with a Muslim. You might have a Muslim roommate.
It's a community life.
It is, and like one day that's just gone. You know what I mean? Like it's different, or it looks different. But alhamdulillah, coming here though, you know, being around the Muslims, it feels really, really good. I love being around the brothers.
So now you're in this group. They know you're Muslim. They welcome you. So tell us about, like, briefly, what's like what did how is your relationship progressing with them? Like, what's going on? Like,
so
how does your situation change, you know, towards your being released?
Towards being released, right? Okay, I want to say like a day came eventually where you're just living life. You're just living life. You're trying to live the best life you can, and you're enjoying the relationships that you're building with your brothers. And there's always that hope, that plan, that desire to want to get out of prison. You know what I mean? And I've always had this desire to just want to get out, be a good Muslim, find a good wife, have a family, inshallah. And like that's what I really want. So I would always be that brother that's reading hadiths about marriage and stuff like that. And the imam would jokingly tease me. He was like, man, I don't know why you brothers want to worry about all these topics that don't even impact you right now. He was like, man, y'all can be focused on Tawheed, Aqidah.
So there's an imam here.
Yeah.
Okay, what's that like?
The imam there is the first imam that I met there, his name was Assad.
And he's also an inmate.
He's an inmate.
Okay.
He's a revert. Beautiful brother, old man. But this brother was serious.
Okay.
Where they sent him to Cumberland, which is a maximum prison,
Yeah.
to like, I guess, keep an eye on him.
Mm.
The brother was really sharp, very, very sharp. Love this brother. That was the first imam that I met. And then the second imam after him was a brother named Umar. Umar's kind of famous.
Okay.
They made a documentary about him.
Okay.
This
That's
brother
interesting.
has beautiful tajweed. Like he can recite.
Allahu Akbar.
Brother's revert.
Allahu
And
Akbar.
he's in his 60s right now, I want to say.
Okay.
So after him, it was Shakur. And then after Shakur, it was Abdulaziz. And then don't know who came after that. But
so what's the role of the imam? Like, what is the imam?
so there, the role of the imam was to lead the brothers religiously,
Okay.
right? And then it was never something I was voted on. It
So
would always
he's
be
the emir.
yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, he was
The
our
leader.
leader.
Okay. SubhanAllah. So this is really it's very interesting. You're learning. Tell us just quickly about what are some of the books that you're learning the Deen.
At that point in time, they start everybody off with Thawadatul Usul by Sheikh
Okay.
Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab.
Rahimahullah.
So everyone starts off with this book, right?
Okay.
And then they'll go over books like Kitab al-Tawheed,
Kitab Tawheed.
Akida Wasatiyah.
Al-Wasatiyah. Okay. Ibn Taymiyyah.
Yeah. And let me see what else to start off with. If you went out to the East Coast, everyone's familiar with Thawadatul Usul and Al-Wajibat. Those two books. And
brother, you was with some Salafis.
Yes.
That's what it was.
so you start with those books, and you learn about, the basic stuff about Islam,
Your
like
Aqidah, you learn about your Iman, your tenets of faith.
Yeah, so like, it's just so much stuff that it's crazy to even think about. They have this in prison.
Yeah.
Brothers are like setting up curriculums in prison.
Yeah, well,
And I'm just blown away. So like, you go over Tawheed, you go over Arububiyya, Uluhiyya, Asma wa Sifat. You learn proofs to support each one of them, and you learn about how you got the opposite of Tawheed. You learn about shirk, right? And the different aspects of shirk itself, right? How you got what is it? Great shirk, minor shirk, inconspicuous shirk.
Yes.
So you learn about that, and then it's just like they have it already mapped out, right?
That's beautiful. If they're teaching the people the Deen like that, that's awesome.
And then they have it set up where you have to learn how to perform ghusl.
Okay,
you have to know how to perform wudu, tayammun, and then you got to memorize the conditions of prayer, the conditions, the pillars, the requirements.
That's amazing. You guys are talab in there.
So, but this is with the proofs. So everything's with the proofs, right?
Yeah.
So you learn about something, then you got to memorize a proof
and
with
you know
it.
why? No, it's good.
And it was always about memorize, and then they'll have like beginner classes for Arabic. You want to learn how to like write the alphabet, and then when you get that down,
Did you? How about the Quran? Did you go through the Quran?
I wasn't able to sit down and go through the whole Quran with someone, but
just a little bit.
Yeah, I was able to sit down and go over like the last 30th. This brother taught me how to. Abdulaziz Ibn Coleman taught me how to write the alphabet, how to pronounce it, and how to connect it.
Wow.
And he was starting to go into tajweed with me.
Yeah.
And I want to say we're starting out of that book by I forget. I want to say it's like 3 volumes. It's Uthmani script. It's the Medina courses. That's what it is.
Medina
yeah.
books. Yeah.
So we had those in prison.
Yeah, okay.
And All right,
That's
so
awesome.
he was working with me, and then I wound up moving to a different unit, and I was in a cell with Abdul Ghani.
Okay.
So he's going
Abdul
over
Ghani.
Tajweed with me, and then I was able to go over Tajweed with Umar, and then after Umar, I was with Wali Akil. This brother was so sharp with it, he would make you write an essay and explain where each letter comes from.
SubhanAllah.
So the maqardij, the point of
Maqardij.
articulation,
That's
right? You got to be able to write where it comes from, what your tongue does.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So you got 5 parts of speech.
Yeah.
You know, so you had to memorize all of this stuff,
MashaAllah.
and then you had to be able to write it on paper and explain it. And so like his thing was like he would make you be able to teach others. So like del, vel, ta, tha, the points of articulation is very similar, right? Where you got this the roof of your mouth, your teeth, the gum line, and it's just your tongue's going from here to here, here to here. So like he teaches you these different tools to use, right, to teach other people, so it makes sense.
And that's good because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says the best of people are those who teach the Quran and those who learn it. And so that should be a goal for all of our institutions, to be able to teach so others can teach others.
Yeah.
You see, and so this is like that's on your mizan al-hasanat, that you get rewarded for everything somebody else learns and they implement and they teach others. And so that brother, may Allah reward him, they're wise. They're wise in doing what they're doing because they're benefiting other people, they're benefiting others, and they're benefiting themselves in the hereafter. So this is pretty cool. You guys got your whole little system. So now I kind of want to shift gears. I want to go to now we're going to go to contrasting Islam and your Native American culture, right? So we're talking about Ojibwe here, and this is one tribe out of many other tribes.
Yeah.
Right? And so many other tribes have different systems and different practices that they do and rituals. And so it's hard to pinpoint a lot of these things because it's mostly oral tradition. And so it's taught. And then you have, like we mentioned before, that the American government made it a part of their business to stop anyone from learning this stuff. So there's a gap there.
Yeah.
And that's why there's a big struggle of what actually was and what's not. And so talk to us now. You're a Muslim. We have this, the compare and contrast. You have your, spiritual system, and then you have Islam. So what are you starting to notice as a difference? What are you starting to identify? What's this journey like for you?
I'm trying to think, where should I start with that? Because that's a big question.
Yeah.
1 second.
By the way, if you're looking at a camera, you're going to want to look at that one.
That one?
'Cause that one's it's going to be close up.
Okay, so for me, and the way I was raised, it was like our belief system and our identity kind of went like hand in hand.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
okay. So
like this is what a native is, and this is what we believe, and this is what we have to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it just all kind of like just goes together, right? And it's hard to like separate like culture and like spirituality, right? So, because it's really intertwined for us.
Yeah.
So I want to say I did a lot of following of what my parents were doing.
So could you just explain to us generally what you understood growing up as the spiritual, the main tenets of the spiritual system of the Ojibwe?
So that's a big question. There's a lot of pressure there.
That is.
Because it could differ, but for me, my Native American experience, right?
Yeah.
I want to say growing up and having your parents tell you that there's a creator and the creator's name is Ogeechimanidu.
Okay.
which is loosely translated to like Great Spirit, something along the lines.
So okay, so you believe that? So there is a main creator deity.
Main deity.
Okay.
And that's why it's pronounced Ogichimani, the Great Spirit versus a spirit.
Okay,
You know
that
what I
makes
mean?
sense. That makes sense.
So yeah, there's a great spirit out there, and like when you need help, you pray to him. And the way you pray to him is you take some tobacco, you put it in your hand, you say a prayer, and then you offer it to a tree.
SubhanAllah.
And then you get corrected, like, oh, maybe it's not to the tree, maybe it's just by the tree or something, right?
Yeah.
So there's some like
So
uncertainty,
nuances.
right?
Yeah.
And like almost like my dad would wing it sometimes. Like, oh, you know, I think you did go put some tobacco by a tree.
Okay.
And yeah, it's like the uncertainty in faith, like not really knowing what to do. I think you do this, or I think this.
Do you think that's because of that cutoff from?
Most definitely.
Okay.
I think it would have been different, you know, if my great grandfather wasn't put in a boarding school.
Yes. And then Christianity wasn't forced on, you know, a lot of.
Yeah, like it's a terrible thing, but it happened.
Yeah. SubhanAllah.
So like growing up like that, being introduced to my culture, and like then the Christianity and like the native culture, and like how my parents would practice both of them and not just picking one, right? And then like the belief that, you know, oh, it's all the same, just, you know, the creator will get your money due, God, whatever you want to call him, just it's all the same. And like just I don't know, it just
was that confusing to you?
it didn't make sense. Like, how is it all the same?
Yeah.
Right? And then like, oh, you know, God is God and stuff like that. And but then like going to church with my grandmother, but powwows, and then at age 12.
What's a powwow, by the way?
It's just where Native Americans get together, they gather, they sing on a drum.
Okay.
And you know,
Do they do the dances too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do the dances.
SubhanAllah.
And so yeah, going to powwows, and then at age 12 getting involved with Anda Young over in St. Paul. It's this program for Native American kids.
Okay.
And I was a part of that program, and they would take you to sing once a week on a drum and teach you about your culture. And that's where I started to learn really about identity, like Native American identity versus at home, where it's like, oh, I think people kind of winging it, you know. Or, yeah, I mean, I'm sure that my parents were trying to do their best with the tools that they had, right?
Yes.
So at age 23, right, after being around this community for about a year, I was Salafi brothers, and they're teaching me about Islam, and like they're really leading by example, right? Not only are these brothers telling you something, but they're practicing it, right? I remember my roommate, this brother hurt my feelings one day. And so like again, like being native and like having that be like my identity, and like all of a sudden you're someplace where there is no natives and people don't really understand like you or like what your people might have been through.
Right.
And it's just something that they see on TV, right? So, you know, he was just like telling me about like polytheism and shirk and people who commit shirk and things like that. And, you know, I was like, man, what about, you know, like my grandmother that might have committed shirk? You know what I mean? What's going to happen to her? He didn't have an answer for me at that moment. And we kind of got quiet. I'm bummed out. And he was reminded of how the lineage of Adam was made to stand before Allah. Yeah. And they were all asked, "Who is your Lord?" And everyone bore witness, right? And so that's what he said, and it's just I had to like eat this, I had to accept it. So at that time, it was like, oh, like what do I do? But I just had to be.
That's difficult, bro.
I just had to accept it. Yeah. You know what I mean? I had to accept, like, man, alhamdulillah, I'm Muslim. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But later on in life, I came across another brother named Abdul Alim Al Jamaica. This brother was like, man, Allah is the most. he said Allah is the most merciful. He's the most just. He said, man, I was a part of a class where that question was actually asked, and they said Allah is the most just, most merciful. And on the day of judgment, for someone who's never even heard of Islam, that Allah will be fair and just with that person, and Allah will give that person, Allah will give him a command. If they obey Allah, then it'll be fine. If they disobey Allah, then they're gonna be in trouble.
So this is what we call like tahta mashiyatillah. These people are under the will of Allah. Like those people who've never heard of Islam or anything like that, then we would say that Allah, He will judge them, right? And this is Ibn Abbas. He mentions that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give them a special test on the day of judgment, right? But it's still a very difficult conversation to have, man.
It
to kind
is.
of bite that bullet and just be like,
At the time I did, though, I just accepted it. It was hard, but I just had to accept it, though.
yeah,
But alhamdulillah, I came across the answer later in life.
subhanallah,
And
alhamdulillah.
so like learning about Islam and then learning about how like we got the best historians, right? And like we got some serious history. So learning about the history of Islam, the history of human beings, right?
Yeah.
And learning about what was before human beings. And you learn about the jinn,
Yeah.
right? And learning about how they inhabited this planet before we did. And so that really caught my interest, right? Because being Native American, growing up in a household, like spirituality was a big thing. Like believing, spirits, the unseen, things moving on their own.
Ooh,
And
that's a good point. Yeah.
so look, they believe in all this stuff,
Yeah.
right? And to them, it's real.
Yeah.
It really be going on. And I was there to see it. And like this stuff be like houses be haunted, like. So like, man, like what's up? Like why does this stuff be, happening to my people, right?
yeah.
And learning about the jinn and what they be doing and how they can make the unreal seem real, right? How they're created from the tips of fire and we can't see them, but they can see us.
Yeah.
But they can take on the image of something,
Yeah.
right? They can trick you. Just learning about them, learn how they can possess people, they can possess homes.
Yes.
And so when people say the jinn, right, you're talking about a creation that has free will. You got some that are good, some that are bad. And these jinn live lives, they have families. Like this is a creation.
They have religions.
Alhamdulillah. So look at this, right?
Yeah.
And you look at how all across this planet they have these stories of, paranormal activity going on.
So is this like clicking for you at this moment?
At the time, it was like I'm connecting some dots.
Yo.
Because there's so much similarity. So look, there's a story where you had the Arabs, the pagan Arabs, they used to worship a rock. And when they found a rock that was bigger than that first rock, they would disregard the first rock and they would worship the bigger rock.
SubhanAllah.
All right. So this is on the other side of the world, right? And they're worshiping the rock. So on this side of the world, native. So I don't know if all natives, but I know like my tribe, Ojibwe, we have sweat lodges, right? And we bring rocks into that sweat lodge and we pray with the rocks in there. And we believe that these rocks have a significance to them because they were present during a time that our ancestors were present.
SubhanAllah.
So, it's like, in our head, it's like, okay, they have a huge significance, right? But in reality, you throw some water on these rocks, because of the heat in the water, it cracks these rocks.
Yes.
Like
so steam and crack.
Yeah, like these rocks really.
They can't do anything.
No, like they're not really doing anything. They're just transferring heat from the fire into inside.
Yeah.
But we'll pray with them though because we believe they were present, with their ancestors. So because of that, there's a greater significance. Where did we get that from? Who told us to do that?
Wow.
So, and that's not an attack on my culture. I'm just asking the question, who told my forefathers to do that?
That's an important question.
Where did this act come from? Let's trace it. Who introduced this?
Yeah.
Because over in the outside world, there's an act that's similar, where the Arabs used to worship rocks.
Yeah.
And when they found a rock that was bigger than that first one, they would worship that bigger rock.
SubhanAllah.
There's a story where someone used to worship a date man, a man made of dates, a statue. They used to worship a statue made of dates.
That's Sayyidina Umar. Sayyidina Umar, he tells that story where he worshipped, he made an idol of dates, and he used to worship it. And so I think he was on a journey, and so he carried it around with him, and so he was getting hungry, and he would eat from this idol's date. He would eat the dates, but he would be feeling regretful. He would be like, "I'm so sorry, I have to eat, man." And so he's eating it, and then by the time he gets to the end, he's just like, "You couldn't even help yourself, you know." And so he finished it. And so this is to show how the created things we worship can't help themselves. Why are we seeking help and aid from them, right? And so these are good questions to ask. And these are questions that Sayyidina Ibrahim asked.
Alhamdulillah, I love this prophet.
Yeah.
I love all the prophets and
Well,
messengers.
let's talk about it a little bit.
So, okay, Prophet Ibrahim was he 9 when he started to question?
We don't know, but he was young.
He was young, 9 or 11, right?
Kid. He was a kid. He was a boy.
So, he's seen his father making these idols out of wood, right? And some of these idols would have really big ears, so that way, you know, the creation could hear them, or the thing could hear the creation.
Yeah.
So, anyways, he would question his father, right? Like, why are you doing this? Like, you know, this doesn't work. You know, I sit here watch you make them. You know, it doesn't work. And he's like, hey, like, not in front of the customers, right? So, you know, from a young age, he was blessed by Allah, right? This young man had an understanding of Tawheed, real monotheism. And one day when his village was gone on the caravan, he decided to stay behind. And he broke up all the statues or the idols in the courtyard except for the big one. And he left a stick by it. And when his family returned and his village returned, they questioned him. I can't even imagine being 11 or however old he was and having to enjoy the good and forbid the evil.
Yeah, by himself.
By yourself, towards your parents.
Your whole tribe, man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where you had to stand firm and say, hey, you know, what are you doing? But, you know, he had to use some hikmah. He had to use some wisdom behind it. So when they came home and they said what happened, he pointed to the big statue and he said, why don't you ask him? So they looked at him like, you know he can't hear. You know he can't hear. So why would you worship him?
I think this goes back to your friend asking you questions about certain things. See, this is a beautiful way. This is a method of giving da'wah. Yeah. Right? It's this sort of inquisitive because it's trying to lead you somewhere without leading you somewhere. Like you have to go down that path. Of course they can't hear. They can't speak. Yeah. So why are you worshiping it?
Yeah. And they punished him. Yeah. Or they tried to.
Yeah.
They built a huge fire. They said this fire was so big they had to use a catapult to put him into it. But Allah said that since an angel to Ibrahim alayhi salam while he was going through the air, so he was to tell him to be calm.
Yeah. No. The Jibreel was sent to him after he was in the fire because Allah he cooled the fire down, but he asked him for help, or he said, "Do you want me to help you?" He says, "From you, I don't want any help. I seek help from the Most High."
Alhamdulillah.
And you look at that. That's that to show you to showcase Ibrahim. That's how you say Millat to Ibrahim, Hanifa. He is the father of Tawheed.
Alhamdulillah.
Right? Because he's the example. He's the epitome, and he's the father of the Prophet. Sallallahu He's his forefather, right? And there's a reason for that. And so Ibrahim's legacy is one of introducing mankind to its maker, right? And turning mankind away from all of these erected idols they created themselves.
Alhamdulillah. So look at the story where he was sent to the people they used to worship. What was it? A star or no? A moon? Was the moon that they should worship? And then he decided to use some some wisdom, and like he to act like he was also worshiping. Oh yeah, this must be my God too, or something.
I don't recall.
Just like when the people over, and then he was like, "But where's it going? Where's it going? Where? Who's gonna guide me during the day?"
Yeah.
And then, oh, it's the sun. This must be my Rub.
Oh,
This must be my
it's
Rub.
Ibrahim. Yeah, he's. This is when he's searching for his Lord. So he's saying all of these things. You know, it's the sun. It's like, it can't be the sun. It's the moon. It can't be the moon. It's stars. It can't be the stars. Right, and then leads them to something greater than all of that.
Yes,
which is Allah Azza wa Jalla. Now,
but you look at the wisdom behind it, though.
A lot of hikmah.
Yes, beautiful stories.
Yeah.
So, back to learning about the jinn,
Mm-hmm.
right, and about my culture. So when I learned about the jinn and I learned how they interact with the people,
Yes.
right, good ones, bad ones, how they have tribes, and how they might inhabit, a valley, and so you can safely go through this valley. There might be a symbol that'd be on like an amulet that you could buy from like what's that word? A soothsayer?
Yeah.
People who practice magic.
Yes. Sahir.
So
the person who does sihr, magic, dark magic. Yeah.
And this is when they're really working with the jinn, right? So, and they're able to perform these miracles or whatever, these tricks, these illusions,
rituals. Yeah.
I mean, you just look at this side of the world, and you have people that experience demonic possession. You have people that have to have rituals to make that demon leave, allegedly, right? And think about how crafty Shaitan is. He caused you to commit some shirk for him to leave.
Yeah. And,
what I mean?
That's the thing, too. A lot of people don't realize that. Is that these phenomena that, the pastor came in and he read in the church and, or the house, and he cleared all the evil spirits away from the girl, and he said, on the Jesus' name. The reason why those shayateen left is because they wanted to strengthen you on your kufr.
Yes. Mission accomplished.
Yes. So it's like,
there's job's done.
Out of here.
You know what I mean? Job's done.
And so people don't realize that, they see a lot of these movies are made, and maybe a lot of these people could share these experiences, but Shaitan always has a game plan to misguide the people away from Allah. That's it. It doesn't matter if you go over there or up there, just as long as it's not to Allah, that's his goal. Yeah.
How evil and crafty.
So now, subhanAllah, we talked about that, your Native American heritage, or I should say, the
culture.
The culture, right? The culture.
But there's even more, though.
Okay.
Another thing that really hit me is when I learned about how that during the time of King Solomon, two angels came down and taught mankind magic, right? And how to separate a man from a husband. I mean, a man from a wife.
Yes.
Right? But by doing this, it's going to be at the cost of the hereafter, right? So over here,
there were the two angels that came down on the city of Babylon. And in this city, they told the people that we'll teach you some magic, but this is fitna. This is a fitna. Do not learn it from us. If you learn it from us, then there are repercussions. The people who wanted to learn, they said, we'll still learn. And so they taught them those, and this is mentioned in the Quran, about separating from the different types of magic, separating the husband and the wife, right? And so, yes, that's how we're starting, in the city of Babylon. And this is after Sulaiman, alayhi salam. And so this is where they're angels. There are two angels who teach, but they're teaching the people because they're commanded by their Lord. This is a test for them.
yes.
And so some of them pass by saying no, and others fail by accepting and learning this type of magic.
So over there, Middle East, they call it magic. This side of the world, they call it medicine, right? And they say good medicine or bad medicine.
Man.
Yes. Are you practicing good medicine or are you practicing bad medicine? You know, some people believe they could do medicine and make someone fall in love with someone else.
Yes.
So there's a jinn that will sit on top of someone's head and beautify that person. Did you know that?
SubhanAllah.
Think about this. I remember reading something about how there's a jinn that might sit on top of a bun or someone's hair, right, to beautify that person. So this is something that's being documented, right? So you look at the hadith over 1,400 years ago. Allegedly, there's been no contact with, you know, the east and the west. No contact yet, right? But we have similar stories, though. Where is this coming from?
That's true.
Where is he? Why is it similar?
And I think it's important you mention that because shirk is something that it's prevalent in every culture. I think we could say it's there in one way or another, whether you want to call it indigenous cultural beliefs or not. These are all things that are there, but they're in different flavors and shapes and forms. But you can definitely refer it, you know, back to the Quran and Sunnah and say, hey, this is what we were told to stay away from.
Yeah, and it's, you know, so this isn't an attack on, you know, my culture or indigenous beliefs. If anything, it's to call people to the truth and to, you know, awareness. You know, just look. Ask yourself these questions. Where does this come from? Why did my people do this? And just look for the truth and look for the similarities. You're going to surprise yourself.
And so this is great. And we would always invite all of our Native American brothers, no matter what tribes you're from. We have tribes too. So a lot of people have tribes, right? Arabs have tribes. We all have tribes. But we would invite all of you guys to learn about Islam. If you want to come and you even want to contact us, this Deen Love platform, you can contact us. If you want to sit down with our brother here and us, we can all sit down, have a friendly conversation over food. You're always welcomed here at Masjid Da'wah 478 University Avenue West 55103. So, you know, you making these connections, becoming Muslim, this is starting to become bright for us all. And so now I want to talk to you, and this is probably a concluding segment, is we have Muslims in America, young guys, girls who grew up in Muslim households, two parents. They grew up with some tarbiyah, form of tarbiyah, whether it was in, you know, Islamic schools, learning the Quran, and they know their deen, but they look around and they see the gang life, they see the music, they see the drugs, the fun, the alcohol. Now we gotta go and we gotta talk to those young people, right? Because you were dibbling dabbling in the stuff before.
Yeah.
And so they're thinking like, that's lit. I don't want to be in some masjid and sit down and just make dhikr and stuff. I want to have fun. I want to go out there. I want to, you know, I want to get turned. I want to get lit. And so talk to them for a second.
Okay, I'm trying to think where to start. So many points. Right?
So many points.
So I would say one is like the way that we frame stuff is really important. So when we say let's go get lit, let's go have fun, we're describing something, right?
Yeah.
Are we describing? So these descriptive words we're using are positive. Let's get lit. Let's have fun. Let's have a good time. Beautiful speech. But what is this speech in reference to? What are we describing? Are we describing obedience to Allah or disobedience to Allah? And if we're describing disobedience to Allah, then why are we using eloquent speech?
SubhanAllah.
I'm just asking.
In the Quran, there's a verse that's mentioned multiple times. وَزَيِّنَ لَهُمُ الشَّيْطَانُ أَعْمَالُهُم. Shaitan made their deeds beautiful to them. They think it's a good thing. Like, yeah, come up. And these phrases are catchy. These phrases are catchy. Sometimes you may find a righteous brother like talk like that. It's like, what are you talking about? Akhi, I'm just talking about Tarawih, brother. Like, no, right? And he's like, no, brother. Yeah. And so sometimes we gotta check ourselves and be like, hey, man, just hold on with the talking like that, right?
So now that we brought some clarity to that, right? Uh-huh. This behavior that has been beautified by the people. I mean, it's
an imitation.
it's not just that, but it's like a lot of this stuff has been prophesized about.
Subhanallah.
Senseless killing, mass bloodshed.
Yeah.
We talked about how
adultery
or women would be clothed but appear to be naked. How you'll have men mimicking women, women mimicking men.
Yeah.
How the Bedouin Arab will compete in building tall buildings.
SubhanAllah.
Man, what's going on right now?
We see all of it
in
today.
Dubai.
Yeah.
You know, so you look at this and you know that this is real. Islam is real. Hands down, Islam is real.
Yeah.
And it's a warning.
Yeah.
And man, if you choose these people as your role models, like just think about how successful they are, right? What is their success in life? That they're gonna be known for being a pimp?
Yeah.
Will they be known for being a killer?
SubhanAllah.
On the day of judgment, do you want to be known for being a pimp or for being disobedient to Allah? And people are going to be resurrected in parties, in groups. People who used to commit adultery are going to be resurrected together.
SubhanAllah.
People who used to drink are going to be resurrected together.
Yeah, concerts.
But alhamdulillah, though, what about the people who seek out knowledge together? Who do you want to be resurrected with? So if you want to follow these disbelievers, and I know that sounds harsh to say disbeliever, right? But I mean, we're not making anyone a disbeliever. People, you know, you ask them, hey,
that's just what they are. They don't believe.
What do you believe in?
Yeah.
Do you believe in the legislation of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? If they say no, then they disbelieve. If they say yes, then they believe. Alhamdulillah, we're brothers in faith. But you look at them and you look at what they follow, what's important to them, and it's a lot of selfish philosophies where it's to get them ahead. And you know, you look at their behavior and like how it's okay to do what they do. But I thought that was cool at one point. I thought it was cool to be in the streets. My sister, so I grew up in some rough neighborhood, right? Yeah. But because I have very beautiful older sisters, everybody wanted to be my friend. So all these thugs, these bad guys, wanted to be my friend. And it wasn't sincerely for Allah. It was because they were being manipulative. They were trying to get close to me, close to my sister. SubhanAllah. So, and you know, it's like these dudes are calling me to straight disbelief. It ain't like he was a Muslim. It's like, hey, come over here and teach you about some Islam. Right. You know, it wasn't that.
So in that sort of light. Okay. So subhanAllah, you know, a lot of our young brothers and sisters are trying to seek pleasure in all this stuff, you know. And it's important that even what you mentioned, subhanAllah. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says, "Al-mar'u ma'a man ahab," that the person will be with who they love. On the day of judgment, who you loved, it will show clearly. You can tell your eyes turn green that you love the Prophet Muhammad, but on the day of judgment, everybody will see what it really is. But if somebody, you know, a Fasik rapper and a Fasik music singer and all this stuff here, you get raised with them on the day of judgment because you truly love them over the love of Allah and His Messenger. You see, and that's a sad way to live. But these individuals, our young brothers and sisters, unfortunately, are trying to seek pleasure. They think they're going to find true pleasure and ease and contentment in those sort of activities. Did you ever find that?
Not with the choices I was making in my youth. So I remember I started to smoke marijuana with my sister, my older sister, because I thought she was cool, right? I wanted to, be like my big sister. She's really popular, all these friends. So she started smoking weed with me, and then my grandmother Janice started smoking weed with me, right? At age, I was like 11. I'm like 11, and my grandmother smoking weed with me, right? But like growing up over South Side back in the day, that wasn't like something that was like a big deal. Like, it was kind of common, like, you know, you're in the hood, people smoke weed. But then it went from smoking weed to like sneaking around, popping pills and stuff like that at like age 13, 14, and in the beginning, I was just trying to, be like my older sister, or I would see my parents getting high, so I want to be like them. And I realized that it felt really good, in the moment, like you would feel really good, but then all of a sudden you would sober up and you're feeling miserable again, right? And you're back experiencing all these uncomfortable feelings. So it became like a cycle of wanting to feel better and never feeling fulfilled, but you're always chasing something. High. Yes. So, coming from a dysfunctional household where, your parents are addicts, alcoholics, and, they use you guys to just place as like the party spot for like your uncles and your aunties. So everyone comes over and they're drinking. And so you got the adults drinking, getting high openly, while you got like your cousins and your older sister on that generation sneaking getting high.
That's tough.
And like the real youth are just looking at, they're just a huge dysfunctional family, right? And we don't know any better. We're just watching our parents, and they were just using the best tools they had.
Yeah.
So you look at like the generational
trauma.
Yeah, and how they cope with that kind of trauma is with addiction. So, or they think, and this is what they're being taught, right? So when I went to prison and I was able to look at stuff and look at my life, in my early years, even on the streets or in prison, it was that sense of like wanting something better, to be fulfilled, to be happy, to know why you're here. You know what I mean?
Your purpose.
Yes. And man, it's like getting exploited through gangbanging. Like you're a kid, you got these adults using you to go do whatever, right? And yeah, it's a real shitty feeling. So I remember at age 19, I wanted change, and at age 22, change started to happen finally for me, right? So when I was able to really just leave all the gangbanging alone, focus on Islam, being the best Muslim I could, it's not like one day I decided, I'm going to get sober, right? I'm going to leave alcohol alone or whatever. I think seeking a relationship, right? Seeking out something that was real.
Yeah. In
the process of doing that and finding it, I found fulfillment. I found purpose, meaning, and along with being sober and healthy and happy.
Yeah.
So, I remember the first time this brother told me, this is age 23, and I'm learning about our basic Aqidah, our belief system, right? He said, Aki, do you know why you were created? Your sole purpose of your existence. Yeah. The only reason why you're here. I was like, nah. He was like, to worship Allah. And what's like 51, 56? Or Allah says, I did not create mankind and jinn except to worship me alone with no partners.
Well, Allah says, I did not create the jinn and the ins except but to worship me.
I didn't understand what that really meant. And it was like, what? So you mean to tell me I'm only here to worship Allah? That's it. That's the only reason why I'm here. He's like, yeah, okay. But he understood what the act of worship meant. Yeah. I didn't. And, it just goes to show, like, it just shows where someone's at. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I was just kind of bummed. I was like, what, really? And it's almost like the first time someone told me, I love you for the sake of Allah. And I was like, what?
You know what that meant.
I was like,
how to feel.
I was like, man, like, are you sneak dissing or something? Like, if it wasn't for our religion, would you not love me? Yeah. Like, what's up, man? You know what I mean? Like, it didn't feel good. Yeah. But learning about, that's the best love. That's pure. It's untainted. Mm-hmm. There's nothing hidden there. Yeah. And if there's an issue, you guys can always refer it back to the Quran and Sunnah. Nah. So, learning about ibadah, worship, right? So, this one brother told me, everything that is haram, that's forbidden, isn't good for you anyways. Name one thing that is haram that is really, really good for your health. Yeah. That's really good for you. Can you think of anything? No. I can't either. So he's like, everything's been made haram isn't good for you anyways. So all these things are lawful. When you do these lawful things in a permissible way as found in the Quran and Sunnah, this is an act of worship as long as you do it sincerely for Allah. Something as simple as smiling, being a good son, you being a good parent, you seeking out marriage, you having sex with your wife in the bedroom could be considered an act of worship.
Okay.
So not only is this pleasing to Allah, but it's pleasing to the creation.
That's true.
Yeah, so
That's true.
You look at this, right? There's so many things that's not only pleasing to Allah, but it's going to be pleasing to you and fulfilling when you do it.
The ibadah is comprehensive. And it's not just like church or something. You just go in the place and do whatever and just go leave. But ibadah is a part and parcel of the daily life of a Muslim.
The way we use the bathroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's worship, subhanAllah. So basically, what you're telling us is that you found your happiness, that true pleasure.
Yes.
And knowing who Allah is and worshiping Him.
My purpose.
Right? SubhanAllah. And that's powerful because, you found that in a place where your freedom was supposed to be taken away from you, but you never felt so free before.
That this brother, Nadir, shared with me. And all down the East Coast, you got a lot of Spanish Muslims in prison.
Okay.
This I've never seen in my life, right? One time, man, these brothers, there's a lot of Spanish Muslims, and they're studious. They love the Deen. This brother had
preserve them.
He was talking about the story where you had a king and you had his servant. The king loved to have his servant, which was a young boy, in his presence because no matter what would happen to him, he'd always say, MashaAllah, right? So, as a Muslim, we know that MashaAllah means that Allah willed this to happen.
Yeah.
Not only that, but whatever Allah wills is good. So because of that, the king loved that boy. Because of his faith in Islam, Allah. So it could be raining, good, bad, doesn't matter what happened. The bitter and the sweet, the boy said, MashaAllah. So one day they go hunting. The king takes him with them because of, his faith, right? Because of his deen. The king loved him for his deen. So they're hunting one day, and the boy chops off. So I heard someone say a thumb. I heard someone say a hand, right? The boy chopped off a limb. Now, the king's freaking out, and he said, why did you do this? The boy said, MashaAllah. The kid like, what? MashaAllah? I'll show you.
MashaAllah.
He was like, I'm going to lock you in my dungeon forever. What do you have to say now? The boy said, MashaAllah. And the king locks him in his dungeon, right? And once a day, he would go down there to check on him, to see if he had something other than MashaAllah to say. The boy would never waver in his faith. He would always say MashaAllah. So eventually, the king got tired and stopped going down there. One of his other servants would go down there, check on him, give him food, and see if he had something other than MashaAllah to say. So after a while, the king totally forgot about him. One day, the king's in the market, and he's doing some shopping. Raiders come, they kill everybody in the market, and they take the king as a human sacrifice. They're going to sacrifice him to their false deity, right? Some false deity. Yeah. So on the way there, one of the raiders realized that the wording is that the king wasn't whole, meaning he was missing a limb, right? And like, hold on, man, we can't use you for a sacrifice. You're not whole. You know what I mean? Like, he wasn't worthy. Because he's missing the limb. He wasn't worthy enough to even be a sacrifice to their false god, right? So they kick him loose. On the way there, the king is reflected. He's walking home. He's doing some reflected, right? And he realizes that if he would have had his hand still, they would have killed him. Yeah. And then he remembers how he lost his hand. And he remembers what he said to the boy. He said, why did you do this? The boy said, MashaAllah. Allah willed this to happen. Whatever he wills is good. So now he starts to feel bad. Like, damn, man. Like, I just locked this boy in the dungeon for a really long time. And he saved me. And when I questioned him, he told me that Allah willed this to happen. And I got mad. So he rushes home. He goes to the dungeon. He lets the boy out. He doesn't say nothing. He just lets him out. And he said, what do you have to say? The boy said, MashaAllah. The king's like, no, I don't think you understand. You've been in this dungeon for a really long time. I'm sorry. And then he fills the boy in on the whole story with like the the market, the raiders, realizing the brother's hand, everything. So for the first time, the boy said something other than mashallah. He said, if I would have been with you, they would have killed me because I am whole. That was his takeaway.
Subhanallah.
Not, you shouldn't have locked me in this dungeon forever.
Wow.
His takeaway was, if I would have been with you, they would have killed me.
So, mashallah.
Mashallah.
Wisdom that you can derive from this story. And so all of our stories really at the end of the day are what Allah willed. And our journeys and our paths is what Allah wills, right? But at the same time, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the will and the choice to choose, right? And so for us, if this choice is clear for us, then behind the choice that we take towards Him, there will be reward. And behind the other, which you're free to make it, but there will be a consequence.
Yes.
Yeah. I think really so much more can be said, but just your story is amazing. And by the way, the brother's name again is Sidīq. By the way, the brother's name is Sidīq. If you see him, give him salams. This is our brother.
Alhamdulillah.
And also, this is an opportunity for all of us to do the work that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commissioned for us to do, right? And so this brother here, he was called in a manner in which many of us would find it to be a unfortunate case to be in. But Allah gave him guidance and hidayah through it.
Alhamdulillah.
Right? So, alhamdulillah. And so we need to really pick up our slack and start to give da'wah and to call the world to Allah Azza wa Jal and to introduce the people to their Maker. And with that, is there any last thing you want to say?
I would just be mindful of for the brothers that are young and they are gang banging or they're thinking about making that choice to join a gang. Islam is perfect and is complete, and the best examples of what a man is the example of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then you look at his companions; those were men.
Yes.
The people today, they're not really good examples of what a man is. And when you look at what's that story where one of the companions, they were talking about the rabbis, the monks and the rabbis, how the people worshipped them.
Yeah, the Christian who became Muslim. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was explaining to him that when you Christians worship your rabbis and your monks, your priests, right? And so he said, we didn't worship them. And as many people would say, they'll say, we don't worship the priest or the pastor. We don't worship them. He says, did you not obey what they made halal and haram? He said, yes, that's your worship.
Look at this. This is over 1,400 years.
1,400 years.
Today, you have these young men obeying these foolish men, and
this turned off. But he didn't say anything. But I picked it up. What are we going to do? All right, just keep going.
All right. So, when it comes to this gangbanging, if your big homie tells you to do something, you might be in a situation where he tells you to go shed someone's blood because someone decided to do the right thing and tell. It's actually an obligation to enjoin the good and to forbid the evil. When you see an evil, you should say something about it. So if you had someone calling the cops on someone because of something evil is going on, it's a lot of land. It's also forbidden, right? And so let's say situations where gang banging and his big homie says, you got to go shed his blood. If you obey him in this, because it's actually forbidden for you to go shed his blood.
Yeah.
You can't just go shed his blood for that reason. That's not lawful. if you obey that individual, you're disobeying Allah. Who's more important to you? Who do you love more? Who do you love?
Yeah. No. And this is the path of desires, is that people, they go and they do things, right? As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَتَّخِذُ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ أَنْدَادًا يُحِبُّونَهُم كَحُبِّ اللَّهِ وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَشَدُّ حُبًّا لِلَّهِ. That from the people are those who love their erected idols, the big homies, the OGs, their celebrities, their singers, their athletes. They love them like they should be loving Allah.
Alhamdulillah.
But the believers love Allah more than they love their things, right?
Yes.
And this is important to know. And love is it's a real thing. And it's something that may drive you to the hellfire, or is something that may enter you into the Jannah, right? And so we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that protection. And so we also ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide all of our families and to guide our Native American brothers and sisters. And we're always welcoming them and everyone else that is engulfed in every other type of misguidance and under the victimization of shaitan and his awliya. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep us all steadfast on the truth. And until next time, Deen lovers, سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.